Tuesday, November 23rd, 2021, Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. So yesterday was a very interesting day. We saw a huge takedown of gold and silver prices. And I say prices because I don't think there were hundreds of thousands of common Americans out there trying to get rid of their gold and silver coins and bars. No, it was the deep state, the Federal Reserve, the bankers, the people in charge who are basically fighting for their survival. Yes, survival. And it's all propaganda. They're not trying to fight inflation, people. That's what we've been told in the media. No, they create the inflation. What they're trying to do is trying to keep you in the pot of boiling water so you don't get out and you get killed like the boiling frog. You will burn to death if you stay in their system. And you also help them, of course. And that's what they're trying to do. And is it any wonder? I saw some pictures of when Biden was doing a small press conference, or it wasn't even a press conference, it was an announcement. I saw that he didn't take questions again. He just turned around and walked out. Because he probably is way out of it. They're losing control. The only thing they have still is the power to manipulate things, and even that didn't go very well. The stock market was goosed up as usual during the day, but in the last hour it just turned south, and that's not a good sign either. So is it any wonder that I saw the photo as well when Biden was announcing his decision, or the decision of the people who are in charge of him, of course. And Powell and Brainerd were wearing those things. And it's, I hope that people now are waking up to the fact that it's not just health, this health crisis that we've had that is a complete fabrication, but it's also the so-called dollar that's a complete fabrication. Yes, they've been able to keep that going for just over 50 years since Nixon really detached what is really a liability that we use as currency from real money, i.e. gold and silver. And that's why they had to smash the price of gold and silver yesterday, because they are barometers of the health of the state. And believe me, nothing's going to change. You're going to be told by the mainstream media that Powell and Brainerd are going to fight inflation. You're going to hear some things that really don't make sense. So, for example, this morning it says, U.S. stocks slip as Biden nominates Jay Powell for second term. S&P 500 and NASDAQ decline amid new sense of urgency from policymakers and politicians over inflation. What's a good analogy? Well, it's like saying that the Colombian drug cartel has a new sense of urgency in trying to help drug addicts heal from their addiction. That's what this really means. If you dig underneath the surface, if you know what the system is really all about. But a lot of people will read this and think, wow, Powell and Brainerd are going to fight inflation now, even though they're going to keep increasing the balance sheet to almost $9 trillion by June of next year. And they're going to keep rates near zero for another 8 months or maybe even more. Like Morgan Stanley is saying now that they're going to hold off raising rates till 2023. So let's quickly go through the FT's propaganda, because the FT is part of all this. I know it's a UK publication, but the globalists are internationalists, and the FT is totally anti sound money because they're the financiers, the banksters, one of the major mouthpieces along with the Wall Street Journal. I mean, if you don't believe me, some of you who are new to the channel, they wrote an editorial back in 2004, and I cut it out from the paper and laminated it. And they said, going, gold. And they didn't even put the person's name on it. They just published it. It says, the pointlessness of holding bullion continues to sink in. So that's the way they think about things. They are controlled. They're part of the central bank club. It says, though, Wall Street stocks dropped on Monday as traders interpreted Joe Biden's renomination of Jay Powell as chairman of the Federal Reserve as a sign that the U.S. president approves of a hawkish pivot by the central bank to fend off soaring, well, they say inflation, but it's not. It's soaring prices. We've had the inflation, FT. It's been happening since '08. It accelerated even more since September 2019. Yes, September 2019, not March 2020. It started with the collapse of the repo market, and it would have led to the collapse of Wall Street, because repo market showed that the financial institutions didn't trust each other anymore. So let's just have a look here at some of the comments that I thought were kind of comical. It says, Powell's renomination came amid a renewed sense of urgency over soaring, well, inflation again, in the U.S. among top policymakers and politicians. The Fed chairman said on Monday that the central bank would use its tools to prevent higher inflation from becoming entrenched. Well, Mr. Powell, if you really wanted to stop rising prices, you would have raised rates many months ago. You would have actually not be tapering. You'd just stop QE. You'd be unwinding the balance sheet right now. So that's all you need to know. The funniest comment here was by Sleepy Joe Biden. It says here, speaking before Powell, Biden said the pace of the post-pandemic economic recovery in the U.S. meant that it was possible to attack inflation from a position of strength, not weakness. Well, the thing is, all the data, a lot of the consumer data, like the University of Michigan data, is showing that the consumer is losing confidence, that the economy is actually slowing down. The yield curve as well is showing that the economy is not firing on all cylinders. We have an inversion between the 20-year bond and the 30-year bond, and that's usually not a good sign. It means that the economy is going probably into a slowdown. Yes, that's why gold and silver were attacked yesterday, because there's no way out for the deep state, for the Federal Reserve, and they're all one. They're all the same. Even the prior administration, they were in bed with the Federal Reserve. That's all you need to know. They're not there to help the American public. Yes, maybe the economy did a little better prior to the pandemic, but the government was still running huge deficits. That's all you need to know. Who do these deficits help? Well, they help the military-industrial complex. They help the bankers. They extract wealth from the public to the people at the top. And is it any wonder that Jay Powell has been part of this cabal deep state for many decades. You just have to listen to Catherine Austin Fitz, who used to work with him at Dillon Reed, a major Wall Street investment bank, which was swallowed up by UBS later. And then he went to the Carlyle Group, which is a Bush cabal private equity group. And now he's there at the Fed, continue to enrich these kinds of people like BlackRock, Carlyle, and also save hedge funds like the Federal Reserve did in September 2019. We found out months later from the BIS that it was some major hedge funds that were in trouble and probably would have collapsed if the Federal Reserve hadn't started not QE again, right? So just before we quickly look at the markets, if you want to call them that, I'm going to reference a pocketbook of gold, a survival manual for monetary mayhem by Jim Sinclair and Peter Carling. And I'm going to go here to page 51, part of chapter 2, which is about what is gold. So let's see what Jim Sinclair and Peter Carling have to say about gold, and it will probably help you, I hope, understand what's really going on with all the manipulation and why they will lose out in the end. The antithesis of gold as a currency is paper money, or what is commonly called fiat currency or fiat money. The term fiat comes from the Latin meaning let it be done, which essentially means a currency enforced by a government or regime used in the payment of debts and taxes. Fiat money is most of the official money operating in the world today, sanctioned by a nation state or regime. Yeah, the deep state. Fiat money is also a method by which governments and central banks control the distribution of wealth in societies, and when a reserve currency in the world. So yeah, the globalists, the Federal Reserve is their bank, and that's all you need to know. The supply of fiat money markedly determines its value, supply, money supply, which of course allows governments and rulers to inflate and depreciate wealth. Most importantly, fiat money has a perfect track record as a store of value throughout history. It has always ultimately failed. Always, every paper currency throughout history and without exception has eventually gone to zero. Conversely, gold has always performed. While all paper currencies have ultimately been devalued into worthlessness, gold has never had this dubious distinction. It has always retained value, while paper currencies go through periods of acceptance, depreciation, and rejection. Gold remains as the monetary unit of last resort. The unfortunate reality today is that we will all need a last resort. So I would say right now we are in the period of depreciation, and I don't think the people in charge are doing anything to stop that. They're pretending that they are with all the management of perception. Have you noticed how increasing tapering now is seen as hawkish, even though they're still doing QE? It's all propaganda and management of perception. That's what you need to know. And I know it's frustrating when you see the markets being manipulated, but yeah, if you know what's really going on, it's not that hard, even though sometimes the kind of market action we saw yesterday is frustrating and it tests your patience. But it's the same thing that's happening in the world of healthcare, I would say. It's all a lie. It's all a lie. And the other thing is, do you really want to finance the pharmaceutical companies by doing what they're saying you should do? No, I'm sure a lot of you don't. And do you really want to finance these people as well by helping their financial system? And how do you do that? Well, by lending your hard-earned labor and wealth to them. And that's what you do when you keep your money in the system, in the banks, even in cash, I would say. And yes, of course, we do need some of this fiat money or fiat currency for everyday transactions. And I'm not saying we don't, but we need to try to be outside the system as much as possible. And they don't want you to. And that's why they keep messing about with price signals to fool people into thinking that everything is fine, but it's not. Again, I don't know when it's all going to implode, but I think we're getting closer and closer. If they were really serious about combating inflation, they wouldn't have inflated in the first place, and they would have already started reversing it, because prices are rising a lot more than just 6% on an annual basis. It's probably more like 15, even 20%. So let's quickly look at where we are this morning. It's 8:37 a.m. London time. We've got spot gold at 1803.80. It's down about $0.50 from the close last night. Range has been 1812 to 1802. So pretty much unchanged, spot gold. Silver is down 15 cents. It's been below 24. The low has been 23.96. Right now we're at 24.02. High has been 24.34. Yeah, I noticed the stock market started plunging in the last hour of trading. I think the NASDAQ was down most of the day, but I saw the Dow was up like over 200 points, and it finished down in the day. So that wasn't a very good final reaction. Am I calling a stock market crash? Not really. If anything, I think the Federal Reserve is going to keep inflating. We could see a blow off top still in the stock market. Who knows? Right now, though, the Dow is down about 160, just under 0.5%. NASDAQ 100 future is down almost 2/3%, just under 100 points. And the S&P 500 index future is down 0.5% or 20 points. The FTSE is down 0.75%, just above 7,200. To the other fiat currencies, sterling is down 0.1% at 133.80. The euro is up 0.25% at 112.62, and the dollar is down 0.25% versus the yen, 114.58. The dollar is unchanged versus the yuan at 638.43. Aussie dollar is unchanged, 72.18. The dollar is up 0.25 versus the Canadian dollar, 127.30. And the Kiwi dollar is down 1/3, back below 70. We're at 69.31. Look at the commodities. WTI crude is down just over 1% at 75.80. High-grade copper is up 0.5% at 4.42. And natural gas is up 3% at 5.02. Just before we finish, though, let's quickly look at the 10-year yield. Yes, it rose yesterday, I think about 6 basis points, which really isn't that much, and we're still below 170, which I would say is a key level. We're unchanged overnight at 162. And yeah, the 20-year yield is at 202, and the 30-year is at 197. So it's inverted there, as I said earlier. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button. Please share it far and wide. think about subscribing to this channel if you haven't yet. And you can also follow me on Rumble, Twitter, Facebook, and all these other platforms below here. I wish you all a great day. Take care. Bye.